Hey guys, David McElwain here with Shoshone Hunt Stories. This is where we give you the tips, the tactics, also lets you get an inside look of what it is like to go to these outfitters on these hunts before you actually go.
You want to hear a story?
Tell me a story. Tell me a story.
We're already recording. I'll tell you a story. We'll start this podcast off with a story. You're spilling water everywhere. I was on the witness stand in a murder trial, and it was finally my turn to testify. And usually the case detective goes last, and it's like tying a big bow up around a Christmas present. Like all the other stuff's been put in the box, and the case detective usually comes up last to close that box, wrap it up, put the bow on it, and the prosecution rests. Okay? So they had outlined this entire murder case, and finally it was time for Detective Meredith to get up on the stand, tie this thing up. Man, I had this testimony down. I had my notes taken. I was ready to just slam dunk this dude and put him in prison for killing this whole man. And I get up on the witness stand, and this is my first rodeo, so I knew when I get up there, I have a routine. I put my notes over here, which you're not allowed to look at, but I always had them up there in case I needed them, so I didn't have to pause court to go find my notes and annoy everybody. So I had my notes over here ready to go. And I always did the same thing. I always sat down. The first thing I do is I pour my cup of water. I set it in front of me. That way I don't have to pour water in the middle of my testimony. I've already got it poured. And I sit down, and I have to, do you solemnly swear to tell the truth or whatever, right? So I sit down, and I kind of turn my chair toward the jury so I can talk to the jury instead of everybody else in the room, because that's who you're talking to. And that prosecutor asked me the first question, and the first thing I did was move my arm and knock that cup of water over the entire podium, all my stuff. We had to stop court, and everybody was looking at me for what I had just done. And the defense attorney was just kind of snickering, kind of like I had just made a big fool of myself. And I was got some paper towels, and I'm cleaning up the water, and I turned over to the jury, and I'm like, I guess I'm not going to yell at my kids when they do that at dinner tonight. And the jury just started laughing, and the defense attorney was like, huffing now because I just kind of made a joke out of it. So I got everything, poured my next cup of water.
Seems like no matter what happens in life, whatever I do when we first start talking, you always have a story.
You can never have too many stories.
No,
and as you can see, the more I drink, the more the stories get more entertaining. For those that don't know, David and I are sitting here shooting it. We just got back from a trip to Africa, to the Eastern Cape, hunting with Kevin Boker, who's been on the podcast talking before, down with Western Safari, South Africa. And I'm not sure how many times I've been. My wife calls it every time we go, it's the next trip of a lifetime, but we just keep going back. But it was David's first time to go. And with Olivia, with his significant other, and just being able to share those. Anytime you can share Africa with a first timer like that is something special, man. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Like, what were your first impressions? Just tell me about getting there, because I think it's real important for folks that listen to this and that read our blogs and that, we talk to and stuff. I was like, I like to think that people kind of almost live vicariously through those of us who are fortunate enough to be able to do this stuff and film it and bring it to them on YouTube. But like, I'd love to know, like, what were your first thoughts? You got to fly across the world, luggage issues.
Well, let me first start by saying this is I was skeptical. I didn't personally, growing up, I never really had a desire to go to Africa. It was never something on my bucket list. It was never something that I was like, thought that I would enjoy. I mean, I knew other people loved it. I just thought, well, there's a lot of other places out there I would rather go to. And then I'll go to Africa, hopefully one day if I'm fortunate enough to do that. But this one trip kind of changed a lot of perspectives that I've kind of shared over the past few days with people. So starting out, though, from getting there, we flew out of Atlanta. Me and Olivia, we drove to Atlanta, flew out to Istanbul, Turkey, which was also, I was a little like, what? Why am I going to Turkey? Like, what? So the plane ride was perfectly fine. We flew on Turkish Airlines. We flew there. The first flight was 12 hours. And we get to Turkey. We spend 8 or 9 hours in an airport, just kind of hanging out, cool. It was not bad at all. It was it was enjoyable, being around the different cultures and stuff like that. We go around to all these different shops and all this kind of stuff, and it was cool to see. So I did a little shopping while we were there, and hopped on a plane and got from Turkey, Istanbul, Turkey, to Joburg and Johannesburg. The best thing to me too is like it's comforting knowing this is like Peyton kind of helped set this up and everything, and there was a person sitting there with our name on a piece of paper.
That's a comfortable feeling, man. When you've been on that plane for 30 hours, with connections, and you walk out there and there's Mr. X from Afton House right there with a sign with your name on it or whatever to get you off to the guest house.
It was so comforting knowing that, and like you kind of felt like, okay, I can't speak a lot of these languages around here. There's somebody here for me. It just makes you feel good, I guess. So we stayed. We got there. We drove with him to the Afton House. We stayed there, which beautiful recommendations, might I add, Peyton. I really recommend everybody going there and staying there for the first night at least, or you come back to the airport, whatever you're doing. Those people there have it dialed in. They take care of you really good. Nice place to rest up. We passed out as soon as we got there. I feel like rested for a long time, and then waited for my good friend to show up. And you showed up about 3:00 in the morning?
Yeah, we showed up the next day. We were just on a little different reservations. And, I tell people when they book a lot of these trips for the first time, it's like there's so many different ways to get there. A lot of people get caught up on the air travel and how much it costs, and they just want to get from point A to point B, which is great. But, we've been over there enough that, God, I've been over there so many different ways. I've been through Atlanta, through Dulles, through Seattle, through wherever. The last couple of times that Christy and I have been, we have flown through Seattle. We were in Idaho, so we just take a puddle jumper over to Seattle. And then we have taken Qatar Airways through Doha, Qatar, and been down. And if you've never visited Dubai Airport, Hamad International Airport in Qatar, it is a whole nother world experience if you have a layover in one of those places. Those airports are like cities. And I mean, the Atlanta airport's one of the busiest in the world, and it's big. It does not look like the airports like in Dubai and Qatar. They're like beautiful little indoor cities with every type of shop. They got shopping malls inside the thing. I mean, it's just unbelievable. It is crazy. It's unbelievable to go through some of these kind of foreign airports, and it's just part of the adventure. That's what I tell people.
As we got to Istanbul, we were walking around, and like it was our first. I thought maybe like when we got there, I was like, "Liv, are we inside the airport, or is this like a mall outside of it? Like, do we like come in like the customs? Like, this is crazy. Like, it was like
it's unbelievable. But no, we just the way the flights came in, we got in at 3:00 in the morning, and there was Mr. X give me a big hug when I got there, and always good to see these people, and got us to the Afton House and got us in bed, and then the jet lag hit, and then I was couldn't sleep, and I was up 3 hours later watching the Atlanta Braves game on my phone because I couldn't sleep. That first morning that you woke up, the first sunrise in Africa, your first morning, the smells, your thoughts when you're just walking outside, like what was that like for you?
Yeah, I don't want to sound cliche or everything, but like kind of felt like I was at home. Like it was just kind of it was not a stressful, unknowingly like feeling where I didn't know what was going to happen next few days, whatever. It just felt like everybody there was family, and so we from that first morning I got the chance to kind of follow you around. Me and Liv and Christy and you went out hunting with Kevin, and got to go chase a bondabuck. And that's kind of I'll let you speak on too, kind of what it meant to you. But it was kind of part of the reason of us going there to film this was the conservation story behind the bondabuck.
Yeah, absolutely, right. So on this particular trip, we were hunting on the Eastern Cape, right? So there's another flight involved. So it's a short flight, Johannesburg to Port Elizabeth. And then, of course, Kevin picked us up and we hung out and went to lunch and had a great time. And the next day, our clients came in. Well, our clients came in that night, several Shoshone clients that had never been to Africa before. And so we got up the next morning And the ironic thing is I had told these guys that it was not going to rain while we were there. I was like, don't bring rain gear. It will not rain. And damned if the first morning we didn't wake up in a fog, misty rain, and I was catching hell right off the bat from these guys, jokingly. And so we're sighting in the rifles. Yeah, they got me there. So we're sighting in the rifles in the fog, in the rain, and it's just off to an ominous start. But I just trust the process. I trust the place where we are. The farms that we were hunting on are all free range. These are not high fence farms. And one of the animals that I really wanted to hunt on this trip, well, there was a couple, but one was a bontabuck. And a bontabuck is a very close cousin of the blesbuck. And in fact, they're very difficult to tell apart. And the blesbuck is a real common animal that most hunters will hunt their first time in Africa. They're kind of all over the place. They're easy to kill. And I had killed blesbuck before about 20 years ago on my first safari. But bontabuck were on the brink of extinction, literally 100 years ago. They were heavily hunted commercially when South Africa was settled last century. And Kevin's family, and we got him to explain this on film, and he's talked about it on this podcast before. Kevin's family was instrumental in bringing the bontabuck essentially back from the brink of extinction. They imported herds onto their properties, on their sheep ranches in the Eastern Cape near Grahamstown, and brought these animals back from extinction, basically. And now there are huntable numbers across South Africa. Certainly most of them are on fenced game farms, which is great because it helps bring the numbers back. But between Kevin and his cousins' farms around there on their sheep ranches, they've got, I don't remember, David, it was several hundred, I guess, probably running around.
It was plenty.
Yeah, there's plenty.
I think he said on that property that we were on right there, I think that he said there was about 300.
Yeah, there's quite a few, and they get the import and export permits and the permits from the government to be able to, take off so many a year for sustainable harvest. And of course, it's the same story. The money goes right back into conservation. It goes back into the farm, and it goes back into promoting these species and propagating them. And of course, you're just taking off old rams. Which is exactly what we did. That's the first thing we did that morning. The fog lifted, and there are animals everywhere. I mean, it was like you're back in Africa, and it was like hunting at Disneyland. There's herds of springbuck and hartebeest and bontabuck running around, and it was just awesome. And we got on a herd of bontabuck pretty early, and we had all of us out there making this stalk on this lone ram that was out there, kind of separated himself away from this herd. So there's Kevin leading. There's me trying to follow. Now, Kevin's a tall, lanky fella, but luckily he had a knee surgery about 3 months ago, so I could keep up with him, which I could not do the last time we were there. And trudging through the bushes, I got David on one camera, Olivia on another camera. Christy was behind us with the binoculars trying to take pictures too. Everything just worked out. I mean, what a cool stalk. We all made it together. The only thing that I almost did wrong is I'm not used to having a professional camera crew behind me. So when it finally came time to take the shot, I'm generally pretty quick on the trigger once the crosshairs are where I want them to be. And we were finally able to get in the spot. We were a couple 100 yards away from this bontabuck, and I put my bipod down on the front of this rifle, jumped down prone on a termite mound. And when the crosshairs hit the bontabuck, I had forgot David and Olivia were behind me filming, which is the whole reason for this, for one of the whole reasons for this. And I shot real quick, and I didn't even think about to make sure that he was on the animal. I did not want to pull a moment like on TV where you turn around and, hey, are you on him? And then I didn't want to do that. I just assumed that all systems were. Oh,
you shot quick, but luckily we got it.
Yeah,
we had two different angles on one on you, one on the bontabuck and everything, and it worked out good. It was
and it was
thing about having two angles because we can work with it.
We had two cameras going, and it made the recovery, and it was great, and it just turned into a beautiful day. The sun came out, and here we are on top of this green hill in Africa. Not to quote Hemingway, but I mean, we're up there with this animal. It's an animal that I'll never hunt again. I'll never shoot another one. That most hunters are not fortunate enough to be able to hunt in Africa, just because there's only so many places you can hunt them. But to be able to hunt that animal and the other animals that we hunted that trip free range kind of adds a whole nother aspect to it. You're hunting an animal that was on the brink of extinction, that has been brought back by hunters, by farmers, and you're able to hunt them now. And it's like one of the best conservation stories in Africa, quite frankly, is the story of the Bonta buck. And that was our first morning. It's like nothing went wrong. Like, I don't know what else could have happened.
It was scary how smoothly everything went. It was just like
everything was going smooth. Yeah, up until that point, everything was going smooth. And then it went a little downhill a little bit in a couple days, but other than that, but we got back from lunch after that Bonta buck, got it loaded in the truck, made it back to the lodge, and I didn't want to hear a damn thing about it raining anymore, because when we pull up to the lodge, all the mother fellows were back, and there were more animals hanging in the skinning shed. I'm like, what happened? Everybody had killed something, and that just started a trend over the course of this trip. And I'm not exaggerating by this. By the end of this trip, and we're going to talk about a couple of our stories here in the meantime, but by the end of this trip, between animals that David and Olivia shot and probably the couple that I shot, these guys killed about 40 animals in 10 days.
And maybe more.
And maybe more. I'm not even sure how many they ended up, because, I left early. Christy and I left to come home. We had some family obligations, so we had to get home. But and all of them were free range, with the exception of 3 fallow deer that all the clients shot on a neighboring farm a couple hours away. But these guys killed, like 40 animals. They shot kudu quickly within 2 days. There were kudu everywhere. I mean, you could go in one valley and glass like 40 of them. It was amazing. Yeah.
That's what was crazy to me, Peyton, is this is all free range. I know we've said it 3 times already, but this is not like what you think of when you think of South Africa, and it's a beautiful, beautiful landscape. You're glassing. It's free range animals, and there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them.
And I have said it over and over again 100 times. There is absolutely nothing wrong with game farming, fencing, and hunting in South Africa. Nothing. I've done it. I'll continue to do it. And thankfully for Peter, people like Peter Lamprecht and Therese Visser and these other outfitters, that we particularly look for, that operate these game farms, there would not be wildlife in South Africa without those game farms. And I am not knocking that at all.
No,
they are done right. And I can't wait to go back. And literally 42 days from now, I'm going to be there with a whole other group of clients. Right. So there's nothing wrong with that. But that being said, it definitely adds a different sense of, wild to it, I guess. If you're hunting these free range animals, which they did. But they couldn't have been any better. I'd like to hear David's first thoughts. At the end of that first day, David turned the camera over to me, and we got to film Olivia taking her first animal. David, what were your thoughts about that? It was exciting, a little scary. I was afraid not to screw up the footage.
It was, man, I tell you, after the first morning, I really was like, I was like, wow, this is not really what I expected, in a good way. This was kind of, I guess it was just refreshing, but it was the amount of animals that are around. On that stalk, while we were on for your Bonta buck, we were walking in, and there's springbuck all around us. There is impala. We even jumped at aardwolf, which I had no idea.
That's right.
Stalking this Bonta buck, and this dog-like creature jumps up in front of us, and I was like, "Kevin, is that a brown hyena?" He's like, "No, it's an aardwolf," and I was like, "I never heard of that in my life, but that's cool." Okay, so many birds around. It's just like it's what you think of when you think of going to Africa, and kind of got that experience. But after your Bonta buck, went back and ate some lunch, and hung out with the guys a little while, and they were having just as good of a time. And we decided to go back out for the afternoon. We could hunt that afternoon. We were going to leave the next morning and go to the coast for your bush pig. So that afternoon, we were going out, and Me and Olivia were in the back of the car. We're in the back of the truck. Christy and you yourself were up front. And it was me, Olivia, and Leander was in the back, our tracker, which is phenomenal to watch him work. That is, as we're back there, me and Olivia were talking, and we're like, it was me, one of us shooting something. And do you shoot springbuck first? Do you shoot? I'm like, and we're going through this and going through that, and you happen to see we're driving down this road, like this, like, dirt path, and there's this tortoise up front of us. Okay, so we're getting closer to the tortoise. I'm getting closer to the tortoise, and Kevin stops at the tortoise. Okay, so I'm getting the camera. I'm like, oh, cool. I'm gonna get out and film this thing. And then Peyton jumps out and he's like, "Don't say a word. Just be quiet. There's an impala right here." And I was like, why did we stop? I was like, why did we stop?
I'm like, so I don't know.
Jump back in the car. We drive a little further. We get out, make the stalk. So we stalk around the scene. We end up not seeing it. But from there, we start seeing animals on top of this ridge a little ways away. So we get up there, and I'd kind of make the conscious effort. Like, I was like, okay, before I shoot anything, I would like for Olivia to shoot something, just because, like, she doesn't get to go on these trips all the time like this. And I'm not saying I do, but this is like possibly a once in a lifetime. I want her to do this, and she would enjoy it a lot. And I'd get a lot of enjoyment out of watching her and filming her do it. Yeah. So,
and I was making my film debut on this, and that initial stock, when we stopped at the tortoise and then ended up getting out, I did my best to make my film debut. I never turned record off. I probably filmed 4 gigs worth of butts in front of me walking through the bush on that stock.
I think that
that's probably what I got.
You turned it on record, and I swear I don't think you ever turned it off.
Never turned it off. I recorded the entire stock. We never saw the impala, but I got some great footage of everybody's butts in front of me moving through and everything else. But
slipping through the bush and everything. And so as we're going up the ridge, we see this impala up there. It's a really nice impala, but he has us pegged from like 500 yards, maybe more. And we're like, okay, we're just going to go up around him. We'll drop down on him and see if he's still there. We drive up on the road, and we're getting around. We hop out of the vehicle, crest this hill, and like you could see the tips of his horns. And I got all this on video, and it's a cool stalk. So we walk over this ridge. We see his horn tips. We ease up a little further, getting ready for a shot, and he runs. And Kevin's like, okay, well, we're gonna follow him. There's a good chance he's gonna stop up here. Anyway, we get up around him, and we eventually catch up to him. And there's like 4 or 5 other rams with him. As we're kind of stalking up on these, they kind of are working around us. We get lined up for a shot. I'm filming over Olivia's shoulder. Peyton is filming the whole thing, wide angle, and Olivia shoots immediately. I have never been so sure in my life that we were going to get this impala. She smokes it. It drops.
And you could hear it hit.
Oh yeah.
And because on these rifles you're shooting over there, they got suppressors on them. So you can hear the bullet impact just hit that thing. And then turn around, look at David. David's got this look in his face like, yeah, baby.
Oh my gosh. I was fired up. I was like, oh, we just came here and she got something the first day. I was so excited. Kevin was excited. And in the video you can see the impala. I knew she hit it high, and I was assuming she probably hit it in the spine. She shot plenty of animals back home. Like I've been with her through mule deer, whitetail, pigs, everything back here. But it was kind of different for me too. It's like I'm disconnected a little bit because I'm watching it. I'm behind it, filming. Kind of Kevin take the role of like we're going up there, and like it's we don't see the impala, but we knew he was in this little area, and we get up there and there's no impala. And I look down, and there's a good spot of blood right there. And I was like, okay, well, I'm sure it just ran down the hill right here, and we're going to find it. And started having a few flashbacks from hunts that I've had in the past where I actually shot a buck and did the exact same thing. I hit him high. He dropped. I saw him flop a little bit, and then he got up and ran away, and I didn't see that deer for 2 weeks. Ended up killing him with a bow later on. But so I kind of was having those flashbacks, and sure enough, we couldn't find the impala, and we kept looking, and nothing. Found some blood. Leander followed it for a long ways, and then it just stopped. So we decided we were going to come back in the morning.
And I think what happened next, and I think that this story is a really good example for folks that have never been before, and for y'all experiencing this for the first time. I knew going into that night, I knew Olivia was sick over it. I knew you were sick over it. And we've all been there. And anybody that says they haven't is lying. But I knew going into that the next morning, as long as it didn't rain, which, I'd already been proven wrong. I knew that between the dogs and between Kevin and those other PHs, that these guys will do absolutely everything they can to recover wounded game. Absolutely everything. And they will press it and press it and press it until the entire day is spent and they're just done, or they're going to rent a helicopter to find it, which I've had to do. So they will figure it out. And quite frankly, David, that's exactly what happened, right? I mean,
man,
we get up the next morning and it's just, you get back on the blood, a little bit more blood, it peters out. And just when you're kind of looking at each other like this just isn't going to happen, it happens.
Yeah. So that's what was crazy is we followed it for a good little ways, and it was amazing to me to see. I grew up always hearing about the trackers in Africa being the best in the world. So I was looking forward to watching that, not personally for my animal or Olivia's animal, but one of our animals, but I wanted to be able to see the trackers work, and I got to see it firsthand. They absolutely did everything they could to recover the animal. Mark with his dogs, Kevin there, Leandra. I mean, everybody there was just putting in the entire effort to get in this thing. And to the point, I was kind of thinking, I was like, okay, this Impala, there's a good chance he's still alive. There's a real good chance. I was thinking more likely than not he's still alive. And I thought, well, the blood's going to peter out. Probably not going to find him. But as we're making one final loop, Kevin's like, let's go down this drainage right here. We'll kind of split up a little bit and, just see what we see and kind of call it after that. We've been looking for a long time.
All morning.
Meanwhile,
all morning. Yeah.
We were supposed to go to the coast this morning. We were all supposed to go to the coast this morning and start hunting blue duiker and bush pig. So we're making this one last loop, and I can hear in the Kosha language in the background, way down at this bottom, Leandra is
excited.
Oh, you can tell he got excited, and then I could tell Kevin got excited, and it was and Kevin didn't say anything to us. He was started walking faster. I was like, okay, something's happening. I don't know what's happening. Something's happening. Well, what happened was Leandra actually jumped the Impala, and he could tell that it was the wounded Impala, and we ended up catching up to it and got another shot into it, and to me, that was just a cool moment to be able to be there, to recognize these guys will do absolutely anything for these animals, because once you draw blood on an animal, that animal is yours. Okay, so, and that's what I liked about Kevin and them was how much effort they could have just said, no, the Impala's still alive, whatever. Yeah. And they didn't do that, man. They didn't do that. And it made me really appreciate them a lot for that.
Yeah, they don't. And to the extreme that they go when they look for these animals, I'm sorry, there is no way half the time that you see that over here, somebody wounds a deer. There's no way. I'm like, it's just, let's one more push. Let's check one more spot. Let's check one more spot. Let's check one more spot. And then there he is. And so it's just a testament. It's a really good example of how hard these guys work to find game when shots go bad.
I was very impressed, man. I was very impressed. So Olivia
was cool.
Got her first African animal.
And the look on her face was worth the entire thing once
I think we were all
that shot.
Shocked. Yeah. We were all kind of shocked, man. It was just like, wait, did this just happen? We all kind of realized that it wasn't going to happen when it did. And that, when you wound an animal and it kind of takes a little bit from it, no matter how you look at it, it takes a little bit from it. But us all being there and recognizing it's going to happen to everybody, no matter what. It's happened to me. It's happened to all my friends that hunt. It's going to happen to me again one day. Hopefully not, but I'm sure it will. It's just part of hunting, and it's sometimes you have to make a follow-up shot. It sucks, but you learn from it, move on from it, whatever. So from there, we go to
which
coast.
is what we did. Yeah, go back at lunch and head to the coast. And so on the Eastern Cape, there's bush pigs all over kind of South Africa, but I had never been able to kill one yet. And they're in a real bush pigs are really they have a dense population on the coastal regions, kind of by Port Alfred. And I had hunted there before and didn't get one. And we were going to hunt bush pig and blue diker. Now, blue diker is a very specialized hunt over little man-made water holes deep in the bush, and you just try to catch them coming to get a drink. But the weather was just not great for that. It was still early on in the season. Some rains, a lot of moisture in the bush. It wasn't going to be real conducive to that. But the first thing that we were going to do is go chase a bush pig. And bush pig are very nocturnal most of the time. They do get killed in the daytime sometimes, and most of them are killed at night. And it's a baiting situation, and usually there's some type of light. It's like you'll sit over a bait, you'll hear the pigs come in, you can hear them munching, you flip a switch, and a light slowly comes on to illuminate the bait. You take a shot, right? So that's kind of the traditional method of doing this. So we go down to the coast. We don't know where we're going to stay yet. Kevin's worked us out someplace to stay, and he's never stayed there before. And when we got to this place, the first thing I thought of was, oh my God, this place is beautiful. And the second thought was, oh my God, how much is this going to cost? Because anytime you walk in, and I was like, God, we're staying here for 2 days. When you're greeted by some girl going, hey, Peyton, welcome to blah, blah, blah. The bar is open. Help yourself. And quote, don't be shy. It's like, we're gonna get in trouble. It's like, this is gonna be trouble. The bedrooms were 5-star. The bathrooms, the lodge area. I mean, I almost didn't want to go hunting that night. I just wanted to hang out. They had a fire going, open bar, and dinner being prepared. I was just kind of good for the night. Oh my gosh! But we left the girls to suffer there without us with the open bar, and we went to go hunt bush pig that night. But this was really cool the way it worked out. Kevin is contracting out with these guys on the coast that specialize in this, and these guys have their hunting of bush pig has kind of evolved from traditionally, like I did last time, you walk into a bait, you sit 40, 50 yards away in a blind, and you wait for the pigs to come in. But these guys have kind of figured out over the years, why would we sit in a blind 40 to 50 yards away when we can put the bait at like the bottom of a hill? We can come in and sit 200 yards away, not have to worry about them hearing us or really smelling us, and then wait till the pigs come in, and then we can turn on a light, and then we can make a stalk down to them, and we don't have to worry about scaring them. So that's exactly what we did. So we go to this farm. Now we're leaving the resort I call it a resort. That's basically what it was. We're leaving there at 6:30 p.m. And I told Kevin, I'm like, it's already going to be about dark by then. And Kevin's like, I know. I'm trusting what these guys do. It's like, these guys do this all the time. If they say we should leave at 6:30, then that's what we should do. All right, no problem. So we get to the farm. We meet the guy who's hooking us up with the bait. We pull up to the top of this hill, and we pull up to the top of this hill in this farm. It is pitch black, no wind, nothing. And this fella in front of us gets out of his car, doesn't shut his door, walks back to us, and he gives us that universal sign like, shut up, don't say a word. And you can look down the hill, and you can see a faint light on in this open clearing. And in the middle of this it's all like cattle pastures, right? So it's open. But in the middle of this little draw at the bottom of this hill is a couple of trees, and there's a dim light. You can see this little dim light. And I'm like, oh, crap. I was like, the pigs are already there. It's a motion sensor light, and the pigs, they're already there. And this guy explained to us later on that particular light actually stays on all the time at night. It comes on, it just stays on. And then because he kind of figured out a few years ago, why do we keep turning on the light when the pigs are there? Why not just have a dim light there all the time? And that's what it was. So this light had come on, but the pigs were there. And so Kevin and I and David, following with the camera, start inching our way down this hill. Now, this was a cool stalk, and it's one of those stalks you'll just remember for the rest of your life. It is pitch black. There's a full moon, so it's a little lit. David's got the camera. We're trying not to slip on this wet grass going down this steep hill. And I look back up a couple times, and I just thought, I do not want to have to walk back up this hill. Lord, please let me kill this pig so we can just pull the truck down here and deal with it. However we're going to get the truck down here, it's like I do not want to walk back up this hill just because it was steep and I'm lazy. So we start heading down this hill. And the closer we get, you can start seeing the shape of these pigs moving around on this bait. The light was real dim because of the rain. The solar-powered light had not charged fully, so it was not bright. And finally, we get about, I don't know, David, what, 75 yards, maybe something like that.
Yeah,
there was a cattle fence at 60 yards, and the guide knew that, and we never made it to that fence to shoot from. So we got to about 75 yards, and Kevin put the shooting sticks the best he could on this steep embankment. It was steep. And I got the gun up on the sticks. And in the scope, which was a super nice scope, it was like a Swarovski scope, it let in enough light where I could see 4 pigs on the bait, but they were all bunched up together. Well, finally, the biggest one separated itself from the other ones. And I thought it was probably a boar because it was the biggest one, but it was the one I was going to shoot anyway. And it was so dark that I remember Kevin saying, just take your time. And I think this time I actually did look at you, David, like, are you good?
Yeah.
Because I learned that lesson the first time. And when I put the crosshairs on the pig, they just disappeared because it was too dark. So I remember putting the crosshairs just above the pig's shoulder, coming down on the shoulder, putting them back up, coming back down, putting them back up, coming back down. And finally, like the third time where I knew that those crosshairs were on that pig's shoulder, I squeezed that trigger. I'll never forget the sound because it was silent out. No sound. There was no wind, no cows mooing yet. I mean, like there was nothing. And when that bullet left that rifle with that suppressor, you could just hear that. And then you just heard that boom. And that pig just hit the dirt like a sack of potatoes. And I couldn't see it. It's so dark in the scope. When the pig hit the ground, it kind of blended in with the ground. But Kevin but both you guys were like, "Oh, the thing's on the ground. It's DRT." And that was one of the coolest stalks and one of the funnest hunting exchange. Like I think I'm almost ever done. It was really, really cool.
It was cool, man. Tell you what,
yeah.
It was cool walking up to it too, because like I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what a bush pig looked like. I had no idea. I'd never seen one before, never seen a picture of one. And they're cool little creatures, man. They're really cool little creatures.
It's something totally different. It's a different hunt. And I had seen them. One of my best friends killed one with a bow up in the Limpopo on a previous trip. But what I was not prepared for was when we got down to where the pig died. Now, up in the Limpopo, when I have seen other people bait these things, and like when my friend shot one, they had kind of dug a hole in the ground and put in like probably some guts and stuff like that, because these pigs eat everything. But it was like a lot of corn and mash, and that's what they were feeding them up there for baiting. These fellas on the coast, they skip all that. Now, they put some of that out there, but this pig dropped dead in probably, I don't know what, David, like a 10 by 10 torn up patch of earth that was basically cut.
We got down there, and I was like,
smell?
What are these bones? I was like, what?
Yes, it was like a boneyard. And these guys bait these things with, carcasses, not of game, but if like a cow dies or something like that. And like a week before we were there, this fella that we were hunting with, he had thrown out an entire dead cow on that bait. And when I mean they dumped the cow, they just dumped the cow. They don't even gut it out. They just dump a dead cow. And I'll tell you, in a week, nothing. There was bones and just a saturated ground full of the most, it was gross. Is what it was. It was just guts and just smell. And the bush pigs really like to eat maggots. And so they use that stuff. Well, this pig died right in the middle of that. And so we're all there just trying not to get this on our shoes. Now everybody's happy. We got the pig, and it's cool, and it was a big boar. It was great, and I was very happy to see the headlights coming around the corner of the hill, so we didn't have to drive back up it. And but man, we very delicately got this pig out of the disgusting pile of bait and got it in the truck, got it back up, took some pictures, had a great time with everybody. It was just cool. Made it back to the lodge, knocked on the door to our room because it was locked. Christy opened the door and was kind of like, you must have got one because you've only been gone like an hour. And I was like, yeah, let's go to the bar. Right. And so we had a great time that night. It just couldn't, it was just, the hunt could not have gone better until the next day. And we got in the blue diker blind, and we were in that blind for about 3 hours, and it hit me and I got sick. And I don't say that because everybody thinks they're going to get sick when they go to Africa, because they don't. Everybody gets sick in America too. But I think I caught something from that bush pig, like I didn't wash my hands good enough or something. And, we tried to hunt the rest of that day, got sick, and I ended up sleeping all that night. And I'm sick because when we got back to that resort, instead of taking advantage of the awesome dinner and the open bar, I went to bed at 5:00 p.m., woke up 2 or 3 times with a fever, and we got up the next morning and tried to hunt a little bit and hit the road to go home, back to the farm.
This was not funny at all, but what was funny was the day that, so you got sick. You were out. Like it definitely hit you pretty hard. I was kind of worried about you because I was like, I never seen Peyton sick or anything, but we got back to the resort and you were sleeping it off. You obviously had something pretty rough in your system, but you're sleeping it off. Me and Olivia were out back from our room, and from out back from our room, there's like there's a mountain out there. There's like a valley where there's like animals everywhere, giraffes and everything. I'm out there taking pictures of Sable that are 10 yards from your back door. And I'm like, I gotta go tell Peyton. I'm like, oh, I can't go there and tell him he's sick. But there was a what are they called? A peacock? It was a peacock.
Yeah.
That was literally about to come in your room. Your back door was open. I was like, this thing's about to go in there with it.
And I would have had no idea. No idea until I woke up. Yeah, it was
for you.
It was brutal, but made it back to the farm and really just over the next 5 or 6 days while we were there, we just enjoyed our time as best we could and rode around with a bunch of different clients. David scared the hell out of a couple kudu before he hit one, and
I'm eating crow. I'm eating. Hey, listen. I don't know if this was recorded or not. I need to go back and look. But I was just jokingly said, I'm going to Africa, this whatever. I'm going there, and I'm going to film Peyton miss an animal or two. Hopefully, he hits one. Let me tell you, I was the one that could not hit an animal. Absolutely. I was kidding when I said that, but Carver came back and was like, "Oh, I'm going to show you." So we had a couple of kudu stalks. We had a couple of kudu misses. Don't know what was going on. I have no idea. What was really going on, Peyton, was I just didn't want the hunt to end. I wanted to be able to go on several kudu hunts without, I only had to pay for one kudu hunt. I wanted
you got like 3.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, we got 3 kudu hunts out of it. Got to stalk a lot of kudu. Got to watch a lot of kudu. But what was funny is it all happened within 600 yards of each other. Valley. It was insane how many kudu were in here. And it was, people say this similar to elk hunting, and it is. It's very, very similar. I would honestly equate it to, it's similar to a lot of Western game hunting. What we were doing was because you're up high, you're glassing, you're picking out spots that like you can see kudu and then they disappear. And then you see them again, 100 yards away and they disappear. And it was kind of the beginning stages of the rut there too. So there was a lot of bulls with cows. And what we were doing, Peyton, is like something that I don't really hear talked about that much was we were looking for a management kudu for me. Okay, so management kudu, it's, obviously it's to the untrained eye, there's not a ton of difference between a management kudu and a trophy kudu. These are the older age class animals that are not going to reach the trophy potential that they want to have. For a lot of the clients, they're going to travel over there to hunt them. Yeah. Me, being from Mississippi and being the guy that I am, I'll shoot a management kudu every day of the week. I don't mind that. Okay, so when I come home and I show pictures to my buddies, they're gonna be like, "Oh, that's a kudu.
That thing's huge." Yeah,
you're not.
Yeah, and they're still big mature animals. And having looked over a lot of quote management kudus or kudu, looking for the one that you eventually shot. I mean, we did look over several because, like you said, we got to see you miss a couple, right? So after, I got to bust on you a little bit.
Yeah, you are.
But looking at the management kudu, it seemed to me like the thing that was what these PHs were looking for was a mature bull that on those curls, on that last curl, it's like it just doesn't curl back around and go up and start going forward like some of the trophy bulls to get that extra length. It's like they got the ivory tips, but it's like you get the first curl, the second curl, and it just kind of stops. Yeah. And it just doesn't continue back around. And, it's like anything else. You're passing up trophy kudu looking for management, because we saw some humdinger Cape kudu. Oh, now these kudu species down in the Eastern Cape, they're a little bit different than the greater kudu up in the Limpopo. They're just not as big. But we passed up several kudu looking for management kudu for you between that like 46 to 47 inch range, which I mean, those are good kudu anywhere, know. So, but I was just so glad you were able to finally connect on one. You killed an impala in the meantime in the rain. Of course, it rained again. So I caught hell over that again. But man, you miss a couple kudu, you get back on your horse. Let's go get David an impala. Made an awesome stock. Yeah. And we're able to kill that. I screwed up some of the footage of that, but
I won't ride you too hard on it.
No, don't. But
the impala, it was cool. Got to walk up on my impala, and it was, like I said, it was raining. But it was a cool stalk. It was also a management impala, which, like I said, give them all to me. I don't care. A management animal is usually cheaper than the trophy potential, obviously, and usually by a pretty good amount. So it's something for guys to think about as they go over there. Is if you're going over there for an animal, if you're going over there for a kudu, if you're going over there for an impala, if you're going over there for like Peyton was the Bontabuck, and then I don't think they have management Bontabuck, but if you go over there and you shoot a couple animals, they also have options to shoot management animals in these other places that are cheaper. So if you don't want your hunt to be over, you can do, a management springbuck or a management impala and stuff like that. So just to keep you on that hunt. And that's kind of what we were doing. Is most all the guys had kind of tagged out. So we were kind of on a management mission. And the impala was a really cool stalk. And got a good shot at him, got my confidence back up with shooting. And then I actually ended up shooting a springbuck a couple of days later too. So felt pretty good about that. And it was just overall, man, I can't thank you enough for allowing me to come on the trip with you. Like you said this too, is like a trip of a lifetime that hopefully is not the only trip of my lifetime. It was an experience that I got to share with Olivia and I'll use this as a testament to, I believe, how good the trip was. As we were leaving, Olivia was tearing up as we were leaving because it felt like we were leaving part of our family over there. And you always said too, as you're leaving your first safari, you will have your next one planned. I definitely believe that we will be back over there over the next couple of years. That's our goal.
Oh, absolutely.
I'd absolutely love to. Kevin and Natalie treated us so well, man. They're good. They're great people. I would recommend absolutely anybody to go over there to those guys. They will make you feel like at home. Animals everywhere, good friends, good people, good food. You can't go wrong.
No, you can't. And I mean, there's so many good places in Africa to go hunting. And that's the cool thing about Africa is there's so many different species that you can hunt certain ones on the East Cape. You can go to Limpopo and hunt different species and meet new people and see a different part of the country. And then you go back and you incorporate a photo safari in, or you go to Cape Town and do the tourist thing around all those cool things. And you get into the history of the country. And, excuse me, there's so much that you can dive into there. But these guys, the clients that were there with us on this trip, I mean, they've already reached out about, all right, what's next? It's like, well, what do you want to do? You want to go back there? Do you want to go somewhere else? Do you want to, what do you want to see? And that's the cool thing about it. But I know you'll be back because we work together. So if I'm going, you're going.
Wherever you're going, I'm going.
You're going, I'm going. So, we're headed back over there in June with a different set of clients and to do a photo safari, and which we'll be filming again for YouTube again. Can't wait to see the video footage and see what you do with it. But if anybody is interested in this hunt that we did with Kevin on the Eastern Cape, if you're looking for a fun safari experience with a lot of animals, that's in this case free range, that is logistically easy to get to, lots of fun side trips that you can do, and it's just, you'll be covered up with animals in a really beautiful setting at a really, really affordable price. It's a lot more
affordable than I think a lot of people know.
Yeah, they really don't understand. But but bang for your buck, you just can't beat it. But I encourage anybody to reach out to Shoshone Adventure Consulting, get a hold of me, get a hold of David. I'll talk the horns off of Billy Goat about Africa and Africa trips. It's certainly my favorite thing to talk about. Man, I can't wait to see the episodes. Just can't wait to see. David filmed like 1.5 terabytes of footage. We got enough for a couple episodes, so it'll be great.
We have enough for one or two for sure.
Yeah, just one or two.
We're thinking 2, and just make them, jam packed.
Yeah. It's going to be. I can't wait.
I'm excited for it. I'm honestly excited to go through the footage and look through it all and put it together. This is part of the trip that I enjoyed too. Not the most, but I do enjoy it a lot. Is reliving those moments and being able to share with other people. So that will be on our YouTube channel within give me a month for
probably end of the month, probably for the first one.
Give me a month, maybe more, maybe less, but it just takes me a little while to go through it all and chop it up and just make sure we do justice to the story because, like I said, it is a cool story with the Bontabuck, and I think it's something that a lot of people don't know. A lot of people probably have no idea what a Bontabuck is. So hopefully, like I said, we can do justice to the story and showcase the storyline behind their farm there. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, man, it's been good. Appreciate it, David. And until next time, thanks everybody for listening. And get a hold of Shoshone if you're ready to plan that next adventure, whether it's Africa, North America, Asia, it doesn't matter. I always say, I know a guy will figure it out. We'll get you hooked up.
All right, guys. Well, there's your hunt story of the week. I want to say thank you for listening along, but if you want to hear more about these hunts, you can book a consultation online and talk to one of our guys. But we also have a weekly newsletter that comes out with the Shoshone featured hunts, but then also the cancellation hunts, if there is any, they will be on that newsletter. So once again, I want to say thank you for listening, and I will catch you on the next hunt story.